All right, guys, page 21, Regulation Z. Ads may not indiscriminately promise financing. Anytime you talk about financing in an advertisement, you have to comply to federal law when you talk about financing, offering financing to the public. This law is not just for real estate, it also applies to anybody, car dealerships online. When you see the ads online for car dealerships, or if they're selling pots and pans in those commercials, right? And they're offering, to purchase them in so many easy payments of just whatever. They're talking about financing. Okay. There's certain laws that they need to comply with and have certain disclosures in those ads um, uh, to comply with the federal law when talking about financing. Now, there's no reason we as real estate salespeople need to be talking about financing in an ad. We're not offering financing. But sometimes real estate agents want to get creative and they'll be like, get into this house instead of telling them the overinflated price. They say, get into this house for as little as this much a payment per month or per week or per day, you know. Well, you better have those figures better be accurate and actually available and not just made up. Okay. Um, so anyway, Regulation Z says that if you're going to offer financing to everybody, you can't indiscriminately do it to everybody. Saying you're indiscriminately promising financing to everyone who sees the ad, because not everybody who sees the ad will qualify for the financing. Got it? So you guys have this highlighted? You have a question just on this. You can't indiscriminately promise financing. You must discriminate who you offer the ads to those who qualify, right?
So is that why they put if qualified on the
Well, actually, they should
okay.
put one or two of these two statements to
Okay.
those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. Yeah, but yeah, I guess sometimes they put end up putting their own statements like what was it you said?
If qualified.
If qualified, yeah. They're supposed to actually use specific wording to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer, but I guess they make up their own as they go along too, and they push the limits, you know. So this is actually a good slide that you should probably snap a picture of, print it out, have it, study it, you know. I put this together. This is everything you need to know about Regulation Z law. Okay, so let me first run down with you. You guys snap a picture of it, get a screenshot of it, whatever.
Got it.
Regulation Z is a federal law. It implements TILA, that's the Truth in Lending Act. It requires full disclosure when you talk about financing in an ad, and certain triggering terms are used. Ooh, triggering terms. What is a triggering term? That could be a question all on its own. Uh, so here are some triggering terms. These are words in an ad that would require the full disclosure of financing um, if mentioned in an ad. Um, you would now be required to fully disclose to everyone all the financing terms if these triggering terms are used in an ad. If you mention an interest rate, a payment amount, a down payment amount, or the term, the number of payments, uh, then that would trigger the full disclosure requirement that you'd now have to say to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer, and then disclose the APR. The annual percentage rate is different than the actual interest rate. The APR stands for annual percentage rate. It's basically the percentage rate plus all the one-time non-reoccurring fees associated with getting the loan or the financing, um, like an application fee, an appraisal fee, things of that nature, which are non-reoccurring, but they are a cost associated with getting the loan. So if you were to factor that into the interest rate over the life of the loan and then break it down to the annual basis per year, how it would affect the interest rate, that's the APR. Okay. It factors in all those one-time incidental costs, right? So APR is always a smidgen higher than the interest rates that they advertise because it takes into account those one-time non-recurring fees. Um, Then you'd also have to disclose the down payment amount if one was required and the term, the number of payments. So Regulation Z does not apply to business or commercial loans, cash transactions, reverse mortgages, or land loans with removable dwellings, secured by removable dwellings, mobile homes. Penalties for violating an administrative order of Regulation Z in your advertisements is $10,000 per day. It's not up to, it is $10,000 per day that ad is in the public domain. So I don't know. Real estate magazines, the shortest one I know of is 2 weeks, 14 days, $10,000 a day. That can put you out of business.
Just about.
They put you out of business and leave it under the bridge
Yeah.
real quick.
In the ditch.
I have a question. You may go over this later on, but what is a reverse mortgage?
Okay, reverse mortgage, it's the opposite of what a mortgage is. Right. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, reverse mortgages are for senior citizens. Yeah, we don't go over them until next week.
Okay.
Reverse
All right.
mortgages.
I mean, we can skip it. Yeah, I just wasn't sure.
I can give you a quick basic rundown of it. It's basically if a senior citizen has a lot of equity in their house, a lot of built-in value, at least 60 to 70%, they could get a reverse mortgage. Basically, the lender, it'll be the only loan that's on the house. The lender will pay off any existing balance of any loans that are on the house. So it'll be the only loan that's on the house. And they'll still have a lot of equity in it. Okay. And the senior does not have to pay that loan back unless they sell the house and move, or they die. That's when it needs to be paid back. So this is a way that they could, if they didn't have a retirement plan or a government pension job, that pays them their practical full salary for the rest of their lives, like most people don't have. How do senior citizens get by just on Social Security? I mean, Social Security payments went up tremendously over the years. However, it was never meant to be a retirement plan for you. It was a subsidy, so it was always less, and it was always really, really low amount that seniors couldn't live off of. I mean, it's more money now, but I don't know if you could still just live off of that either if you didn't have a savings. So this is a way that seniors can live their lives out in the rest of their lives out in dignity by taking the lender will pay out the equity in monthly mortgage payments back to the homeowner. See, normally it's the homeowner that makes the payments to the lender.
Yeah.
The reverse mortgage is the reverse. The lender's making the payments to the homeowner, the borrower.
So you mentioned that if they pass away, but how are they going to get that money back if they pass away? If they're the only person on the home, if it's not husband and wife on the home, it's just
the lender will sell the house.
Oh, so it's their house now.
So,
No, they'll sell the house to get their money back. If nobody's going to volunteer to pay them back, they'll sell the house, get their money, and then any heirs can get the money that's left over from the equity that's for any equity that was left over.
Okay.
Okay, but so if the relatives want the house, well, they're going to have to pay off the loan, just like any loan. But a lot of time people bitch and complain about this other than the seniors because they're like, oh, well, they took the home. Okay, well, where were you? And your parents had to eat cat food. This was extra money that helped them get by.
Yeah.
You weren't there because you were in a hurry to move out, abandon your parents. People don't do what they, take care of their parents like they used to.
Yeah.
Look at me, yeah, living with my mom here, but a lot of people, they just, quick to get out and don't want to come back, and so then how do they get by when they no longer have jobs or a big retirement plan? Well, they got to get the money from somewhere and they're living in it, right? The house, they built up a lot of equity paying off that mortgage over the years, right? But maybe it's not quite paid off. So they get a home equity I'm sorry, the reverse mortgage pays off the balance. It's the only loan on the house, and then they start paying monthly payments back to the borrower in the equity that they have built up over the years. And hopefully, hopefully they'll live forever. But if you live forever, how are you going to be paying your bills and surviving? So hopefully, it'll be enough money to get payments to you before you die. Otherwise you'll be struggling the older and older you get. All right. So, these are the rules for Regulation Z. There's everything you need to know about it. Okay, so now let's do the highlights. This is in a much later chapter, page 291. Let's go highlight all the stuff for Regulation Z that I had in that one slide for you.
Is that on page 291, you said?
291, correct.
291.
291. Okay, so the Truth in Lending Act is implemented by Regulation Z, does not apply to transactions or cash transactions or business or commercial loans. Regulation Z requires the borrower to be fully informed of all finance charges. Does not apply to home equity lines of credit, reverse mortgages, or land loans secured by removable dwellings. Now, this is not about Regulation Z, but you might as well highlight it while you're there anyway. The Your Home Loan Toolkit. This is about people getting mortgage loans and stuff and how to shop for mortgage loans and compare loans. The Your Home Loan Toolkit must be given within 3 business days of the loan application to the consumer. It also requires delivery or mailing of early disclosures about proposed loans within 3 business days of the completed mortgage application. Until disclosure has been made, the lender cannot charge any fees except for a credit report. An application is considered complete when the prospective borrowers provide the address of the property, the loan amount requested, the income of all the borrowers, the estimated property value, and the names of the borrowers and their social security numbers. And if you take the first letter from all those words, it spells aliens. So when the aliens have landed, when the aliens are present, that's the acronym to remember, well, you don't need to memorize it, but aliens is when the loan application is considered complete, when the consumer provided all the information of aliens. All right, page 292, 3-day right of rescission. This right of rescission does not apply to residential purchase money first mortgage loans. It only applies to refinancing. And purchase money mortgage is any loan, including seller financing used to buy real estate. If you read purchase money mortgage backwards, it's mortgage money to purchase, right? Tells you what it is right in the name. Purchase money mortgage money to purchase. It's any loan used, any type of loan that is used to buy real estate, including seller finance.
Is that on? I'm confused right now. 20 page
292. The 3-day right of rescission. You can see it there?
Yeah. Fine.
And Regulation Z applies to all credit advertising if any of the following triggering terms are used. And here are just some of the examples. Actually, here is the things that I rattled off. The amount of percentage of down payment, the term, the payment periods of repayment, amount of any payment, and the amount of any finance charge. And then I got a little arrow here. I highlighted this. I got a little arrow pointing to the next page where they're going to actually give you examples of what it would look like in an ad, these triggering terms. Let me know when you got this, and I can go on to the next page.
Uh, got it.
Okay. And then on the next page, 293, it just shows you examples of what those triggering terms would look like. Like if you said 30-year loan available, payments of 1432, including principal and interest, or down only 5% down. These are triggering terms that would trigger that full disclosure requirement. And then below that, they're showing some examples that are not considered triggering terms. Financing available. Yeah, it's just a general thing. Terms negotiable. Owner may finance or assume a 5% APR. Attractive financing or $400,000 mortgage available. Any offer of financing must include the words "to those who qualify" or "to a qualified buyer" as well. That's how you discriminate. Discrimination is being selective. Okay. Don't think of racial discrimination. Think of discrimination as being selective, to those who qualify. Not everybody does. And then on page 293, the penalties. Or like I said, you could just print out and study the page that I that I made for you guys, which will come up again. Okay. Good.
Got it.
So once again, here's this slide. Probably a lot easier to study from, right, than all those highlights that are random all over the place. This is everything you need to know about Regulation Z. And it'll come up more because, like I said, this is a much later chapter. All right, so go back to page 21. All the way back there. So, no advertising or sign may indicate a property sold until it has sold, meaning that the title has passed to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed. Anyone know what title is?
What a title is? It's a proof of ownership.
It's not like a car. In real estate, the word title means ownership, but there's no document in real estate called title.
Okay.
The document we use to transfer title ownership in real estate is called a deed. Okay. And there's different kinds of deeds as well. And having a deed is not proof of ownership. So what is? Well, we'll get into that later.
Okay.
As you can see, that's a rabbit hole we're going to go down here. But put here, there's the cross-reference where it gets explained on page 383. So I underlined the word title and I wrote page 383 underneath that. Because a lot of these terms we just read through and it goes right over your head. We don't explain them and we just continue on teaching the lesson. I like to stop, explain. So instead of just saying, Yeah, no advertising or sign may indicate a property sold until title is passed by the buyer to the buyer by delivery and acceptance of the deed. Well, when does the transfer of ownership take place in real estate? Upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself. This is why deeds don't need to be dated or signed by a buyer. Now, you do not have to advertise the status of listings in your advertisements or on signs. But if you do, the status must be accurate. If you have a sold sign rider, that means the transaction's been closed and there's a new owner on the property. Under contract, you know what I'm talking about when we have the
Yeah.
for sale signs on the property and then they put
Yeah, on
the
the very
sold
top.
sign rider on top of it, or the word under contract. Under contract means it went to attorney review. They both agreed on all the changes. We're now out of attorney review. And now you're in a legally binding the parties are in a legally binding contract with each other. That's known as being under contract. Okay. We're not allowed to use those sign riders that say sale pending or pending sale. They're too subjective. What does that mean?
Even
You know,
online, are
huh?
you not allowed to use that on online? Like if you go to like Zillow or Realtor.com and it says pending, they're not supposed to use that?
No, what does that mean? I get a listing. The day I get a listing, the sale's pending. Pending I find a buyer that makes an offer that's acceptable to the seller. I mean, what the hell does sale pending mean? It's
Yeah.
too subjective.
Okay.
So the Real Estate Commission says we're not supposed to use those sign riders that say sale pending or pending sale. Sold, under contract, those are very specific. We know what that means. Coming soon listings, all that is a delayed showing. You already have a listing. I know you have a listing. You know why? Because you can't advertise the property unless you do have something in writing with the owner that they hired you to market their property for sale.
Mhm.
So if you have a coming soon sign rider on a for sale sign on somebody's front lawn, you better have the listing. All right, it's nothing more than a delayed showing. And here's that coming soon listing form for the Garden State MLS anyway. It just shows you, look, no, while you have a coming soon listing, that means that it's not available for anyone to show in the meantime because you're trying to build anticipation. But if you do that, that means you can't show it either, nor can any agent from your office. No showings of the property to prospective purchasers, nor any real estate agent previews or office caravans prior to the first showing date. The prohibition against showings, previews, or caravans applies to the listing broker, all agents in the listing broker's office, and all other brokers and agents affiliated with the listing company, as well as brokers and agents from other offices not affiliated with the listing company. There's no exceptions to the prohibition against showings before the first showing date. Nobody can show it. Okay, so the seller can always revise the first showing date at any time to make it available sooner or if they need an extension, but they cannot extend it more than 10 days. Okay,
How about the owner?
well, the owner has to sign this.
No, can the owner show it?
No, nobody, no showings.
Okay.
No
Yeah,
showings.
it just doesn't say owner, so I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can't try to get slick like that and be like, okay, I'm going to get my client in there and have,
No, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying from us perspective, for our perspective, like if the owner decided, like, hey, someone just showed up and said, hey, I see your house is for sale. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, you want to come take a look at it? Is this something, where, they can get in trouble for that as well?
just be careful about trying to be slick like that. Okay. Okay, title is just a word that means ownership, like I said. So this is another slide I put together you may want to snap a picture of. It's about the title, the deed, when the transfer of ownership takes place, and what are the proofs of ownership. Okay, which we just talked about briefly when I showed you the word title, and I said page 383 talks about this a little bit. So Title is just a word that means ownership, and there's no document in real estate called title. It's not like a car where you get the title, and when you buy a car, you turn it over, the seller signs the title over to you. They mark the mileage, the sale price, who the buyer is, all that stuff. Then you go to motor vehicle, and then they reissue a new title in your name. Okay, there's no document like that in real estate. Title is just a word that means ownership. Deed is the document that's used to transfer. Well, here I got two definitions for deed here. I got the simple dumbed down definition with common everyday English language words, and then I got the ones with the more learned vocabulary that you'll probably see on exams. Okay, so the first one is a deed is a document used to transfer ownership, but is not proof of ownership. Now, another way of saying the same exact thing is a deed is an instrument used to convey title, but is not evidence of title. Those two statements are saying the same exact thing. Instrument's another word for document. Convey is another word for transfer. Evidence is another word for proof. And title is another word for ownership, right? So there are two ways of saying the exact same thing. However, a deed is not just used to transfer ownership. It could also be used to transfer one's partial ownership rights if there's multiple owners, or things like air rights, mineral rights, subsurface rights. Okay, not just ownership. Ownership is transferred upon delivery and acceptance of the deed itself, which does not need to be signed or dated by the buyer. Unless the buyer records the deed in the public records and their signature needs to be acknowledged before they could do that. So if you're the buyer, you bought the property, it's now your property, and you want to now record your ownership in the public records so the world knows that you are now the owner of the property, you have to sign the deed at that point. But your signature needs to be acknowledged first. That just means that it's somebody has checked your ID and confirmed you are the actual owner. You are who you say you are when you're signing a document. So an acknowledgement can be done by a notary public, attorneys, judges, or a trusted public official like an elected politician. Trusted. Okay, so recording documents in the public record. Why would you want to record a document in the public record? What does that mean? It just simply means you're adding the documents to the public records in the County Hall of Records where all land ownership documents are kept. That's usually the county courthouse. Okay. Where all those sheriff's officers are, probably got the city, the county jail there, and the courthouse and all that stuff. Well, in one of those buildings, they also keep all the records for all the municipalities in the county. They keep all the land history records of ownership in those buildings. Okay, so why do we record documents in the public record? Well, to put the world on notice of our interest in the property, so that if somebody else has an interest or something, they could now see who's the owner is. Like if you're recording a new ownership or attaching a lien to a property because you're a contractor, you did work on the house and the person never paid you, right? Or you got a lawsuit judgment against somebody and they ain't paying it. You find out they own a house, you could take that court judgment where the judge says, well, you owe this person money, and they can record it as a lien against the property that you own. Okay, so a deed is the document that's used to transfer title, but it's not evidence of title. So what is? There are four evidences of title, or four proofs of ownership. They are an abstract of title with attorney's opinion, a certificate of title, title insurance policy, or a Torrance certificate, but we don't use those here in New Jersey. So what is an abstract of title with attorney's opinion? Well, what's an abstract? You guys drive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You got car insurance?
Yes.
Yes.
When you went to get car insurance, Did the insurance company want to run an abstract of your driving record? They wanted your driver's license number so they could do a background check on it.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're running an abstract they're getting an abstract of your driving record, where they could see if you had any infractions on your license. Okay, so abstract of title. Title means ownership. It's a complete history of the ownership of a property, and then that's turned over to an attorney who reviews it to see if you got good, clear title. They want to just make sure that there's been no improper transfers of ownership in the past throughout history, and that all the owners of the property have signed the deeds when they transferred the ownership and things of that nature, and that there's no liens on the property. Certificate of title is often oral or implied. It's not even in writing most of the time. A certificate of title is it's common in more rural locales where an attorney is like, yeah, I went down, I searched the public records myself, they got good title. But would you rely on that as a proof of ownership, just a verbal representation by somebody, not even in writing?
No. What?
Who
But
would?
also with
I
the
will,
abstract, with attorney's opinion, like the word opinion doesn't give me any joy.
Okay, well, an abstract is somebody known as an abstractor goes down and they search the public records and they put a list in chronological order according to the dates that any documents were recorded in the public records pertaining to the ownership of that property, including any liens, like a mortgage loan or lawsuit judgment liens or anything like that that are attached to that property. They scour the public records. Anything they find, they put in chronological order according to the dates that they were recorded in the public record. Then they turn that over to an attorney who can then match things up, because you need a lawyer to do this. They match things up to make sure, okay, so in the past, this person was the owner. They got a mortgage loan. Here, a satisfaction of mortgage lien was recorded for that, so they paid off that mortgage loan. Okay, and they basically do the tracing of the public record, and then they render their opinion that you got good, clear title or not. Yeah, you have to rely on their opinion. So if the attorney screws up, well, you'd have to seek satisfaction from the attorney, meaning you'd have to sue them. Good luck with that. Right? If the abstractor screws up, well, they got errors and omissions insurance like we do, so they're covered. A certificate of title, who would rely on that just verbal representation that you got good, clear title? A lender, because just before closing, lenders will call up and verify or give you the okay, the closing agent, whether it's an attorney or title company that's doing the closing. They say, have we established clear title yet? Do we have any title evidence? And the attorney's like, yeah, I went down, I searched the public records, they got good, clear title. And then the lender probably recorded that phone call, and then they said, okay, then we're authorizing the release of the funds. So they would rely on that. You and I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right? And then title insurance policy, that's the stuff that we usually rely on, right? A title insurance policy is the same thing. The insurance company has an abstractor on their staff. They go down, they search the public records, put it in chronological order according to date, but they review it. And once they're satisfied that you got good, clear title, they will issue you insurance. So if at any point in the future somebody steps forward and proves that they have an interest in the property, well, whether it's a lien, money that's owed, the insurance company has to pay it off now. If it's somebody that steps forward and claims that they're the rightful owner because there was an improper transfer in the past, well, you got to give up the property. But what about all the money that I put into it? And what about the loan that I still have outstanding? Well, the insurance policy will pay you back. That's why there's two policies, a buyer's policy and a lender's policy. Buyer's policy will pay back any money that you laid out to over the time to purchase this property and to maybe make payments on it. And the lender's policy will pay back the lender any outstanding balance on the loan still. But you don't get to keep the property. Okay. It's like buying a TV, right? That was stolen, right? But I paid for the TV. Yeah, but it's stolen. You don't get to keep it. Cops aren't going to let you keep a stolen TV because you bought it from a criminal that stole it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing applies with real estate. If you buy a property and somebody can prove that their grandpappy's grandpappy was swindled out of that property, years and years ago, and then now you're the owner somehow. Maybe you bought it legitimately through somebody, but someone else got screwed over years ago. And if they could prove it, then that means that all the sales of that property after that were invalid. So you don't get to keep it. You got to give it up. So to protect yourself, you get title insurance. And then we have a Torrens certificate. We don't use these here in New Jersey. Torrens certificate is like the central hall of record keeping, where we record documents in the public record. However, anytime there's a transfer of ownership, it is required to be recorded in the public record at the central hall of record keeping in the state. New Jersey doesn't have that. Instead, we have 21 central hall of record keeping and one in each of our 21 counties. And you don't need to record your deeds in the public record. You could. It's advised that you should for several reasons, but you're not required to. Why would you want to make sure your ownership is recorded in the public record?
I guess just you have almost, how do I word it?
Look, you bought the property from me.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that your new ownership, that you're now the owner, is recorded in the public record.
Mhm.
Why? Well, how
So
about this?
everyone knows.
Say I'm not the most scrupulous person, and I sold you my property.
Mhm.
Later that same day, I fill out another blank deed and I sell that same property to someone else. You both have a deed. Who's the owner?
The one in the public record.
Yeah, the race is on. Whoever records their interest in the public record first is the owner. The other one got to find me. Right? Or here's another reason. I'm the owner. I sell you the property. You didn't record it in the public record. I get a lawsuit judgment against me. I get into an accident or something. Somebody gets an award or settlement, and they get a judgment against me. They're going to search the public records to see if I own any property that they could put liens on. If you didn't record now that you're the owner of the property, a lien can be placed on that property because it still reflects that I'm the owner. Okay? There's two reasons for you as a buyer it's why it's in your best interest to record it in your name as soon as possible. Now, me as the seller, I also want you to record it in your name as soon as possible. Why? Well, what if somebody trips and falls on that property? Who are they going to sue? Whoever's listed in the public record as the owner, which is still me because you didn't record your interest yet.
Mhm.
So as a seller, I'm going to really want to make sure that you record your new ownership in the public records now as well. Make sense?
Yep. 100%.
Okay, so there you go. Title, deed. Deed is title means ownership. Deed's a document that's used to transfer ownership or your rights or interest in the property, but it's not proof of ownership. Well, what is proof of ownership? One of the four evidences of title: an abstract of title with attorney's opinion, certificate of title, title insurance policy, or Torrens certificate.
Abstract.
But we don't use the Torrens certificate in New Jersey, and you'll need to know that as well. So you will get several questions off of this slide on your exams. And this is from like chapter 19, I think. Actually, 19 and 20. 19, 20?
Yeah, 357 is 19.
Okay. And 383?
383 is 21.
Okay. So this is stuff from chapter 19 and 21, all on one slide. And that Regulation Z stuff was from what the between chapter 13 and 15.
291 is,
Yeah. Well, those three chapters are for mortgages. So
excuse me, 15.
Regulation Z is dealing with that, the lending. So that's
That's chapter 15.
yeah, 13, 14, or 15. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you guys had a screenshot of that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now look, here's page 357. Let's highlight the thing that we just spoke about. A deed is a written instrument by which an owner of real estate intentionally conveys their right, title, or interest in a parcel of real estate. The owner who sells or gives the land is known as the grantor because we grant our ownership to someone else when we sell it or give it away. So the seller is the grantor, and the new owner who acquires the title is called the grantee. Here's a little. We won't see it until chapter 7. There's a chart. Easy way to remember legal terminology. When you transfer the ownership from one owner to the next, we grant the ownership. We call that grant. Words that end in OR is the person who's giving whatever the root word is talking about. Words that end in EE is the one that's getting it. So if you transfer ownership by granting that ownership, then the grantor is the seller and the grantee is the buyer. Now, these are the 4 types of deeds that we're going to go over in that much later chapter as well, chapter 19. There are 4 types of deeds. We did not go over them, and we're not going to go over them right now either. But you could put a highlighted box around it and take these notes here, put a little arrow. These are the deeds that offer the most protection to the buyer to the deeds that offer the least protection to the buyer. And then over here for this one, it says bargain and sale deed, no covenants. Well, what is a covenant? It's not a bunch of witches. That's a coven. A covenant is a legal promise. A covenant is a legal promise. So this type of deed has no legal promises attached to it. Whereas the full warranty deed is also known as a full covenant and warranty deed. It has all the legal promises attached to it. It's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Then on page 383, let's highlight chain of title. Well, what's title?
D.
No, what is title? What is the word title?
Jesus Christ, I just had it. Title is sale?
Ownership.
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 Title's just a word that means ownership.
Ownership. I was about to say proof of ownership, and I was like, no, that's not a proof. So I was like, which one is it?
Deed is the document that's used to transfer the ownership, but is not proof of ownership. And there's those 4 evidences of title we just went over, okay, that are down here, right? Now, a chain of title. What is chain of title? Well, each owner, if you search the public records, each owner that recorded their documents there in the public record, if you could trace them in the public record, they're one link in the chain. If you could link one owner to the next, you're now creating a chain. That's what a chain of title is. Linking one owner to the next simply by researching the documents in the public records. So a chain of title shows the record of ownership of the property over a period of time. An abstract of title is a condensed history of all documents affecting a particular parcel of land. So any deeds that were recorded, any liens on the property that were recorded, like a mortgage lien, etc. So that's the abstract. Remember, like your abstract on your driving record, it's a condensed history of your driving record. Abstract of title. Title means ownership, so it's a condensed history of all documents found in the public record relating to ownership. Make sense?
Yep.
So chain of title, the ownership of the property can be traced from its origin to its present owner. But if that cannot be done for some reason, maybe because in the past a courthouse burned down and they lost all the records, I don't know. But if that can't be done for some reason, it's said that there's a gap or a break in the chain. A quitclaim deed is commonly used to bridge such gaps. Or they could also do a lawsuit in a court of law called a suit to quiet title, where the parties will show their evidence why they're the owner, and a judge will render a decision who is the proper owner on the property. Now, how do we transfer title?
Sale.
What's title?
Title's ownership.
Ownership.
Title means ownership. How do we transfer one's ownership, one's title?
A sale.
By a document. A document called
D.
a deed. A document called a deed, right? And is a deed proof of ownership because you have a deed?
No.
No. I have a blank deed on my computer. I could fill out a blank deed right now on your house. Does that mean that I have the right to sell it? No.
No.
So a deed, therefore, is not proof of ownership. What is proof of ownership? Well, you got to do the research of the public records, right? That abstract with the attorney's opinion, a title insurance policy where they also do an abstract, and then the insurance company issues an insurance policy because they're so certain that you got good, clear title. A Torrens certificate, which is not used in New Jersey, or a certificate of title where an attorney says, I searched the public records, but they just say it. It's not necessarily in writing. So right down here, you could see this, even though they put a couple of run-on words together. A deed is not proof of title. Is not is two words, actually. They made it in one. If that's the case, they should get rid of the O, put in an apostrophe, and it would be isn't. All right. Let me know when you guys got all these highlights, underlines, and notations here.
Got it.
Got it.
All right, back to page 21 again. Any offer of a free item or gift must be genuinely free with no strings attached to it. Can you ever offer anything for free to the public?
No.
Yes. No strings attached, though. Cannot be contingent upon them doing business with you. Look, we do open houses and we put out bottles of water,
Free coffee,
soda, cookies, sandwiches, maybe, right? So you're offering things for free to the public, but no strings attached. It's not contingent upon you buying this house from me that you don't get the cookie unless you buy the house from me, right? So anybody that walks in that open house, you got to give the cookie to. You can't be like, no, these are for buyers. Right? Now, actually, our politicians in New Jersey changed the law on this in 2019 that says that we can offer free things to the public with strings attached, contingent upon you doing business with me. However, it does say the amendment further provided that it will not go into effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement the revised statutory provisions on how you're going to have to register these free offerings with the Real Estate Commission before you could offer them to the public for free. And we are in 2025, and the Real Estate Commission still has not done that. So even though the law changed back there in 2019, you still can't do it because the Real Estate Commission did not implement that way on how to make these offers to the public. Got it?
Yep.
Whenever they do, that's when we'll be able to do it. Now, can you ever offer a free appraisal?
No.
No.
No, why not?
We're not licensed appraisers.
There you go. We're not licensed appraisers. However, we can help the public determine the value of their properties by doing CMAs. That's a comparative market analysis. That's what CMA stands for, comparative market analysis, where we're trying to determine the value of your home by comparing it to similar nearby recently sold homes, similar in size, style, location, age, amenity, condition, to determine what the value of your home is. Now, we also do valuations for banks sometimes where they're too cheap to buy a appraisal from an appraiser. They will reach out to us to do a BPO, a broker's price opinion for them. It's a little more math involved than with a CMA, but not quite an appraisal. So we can make money on the side by doing that. Well, actually, when I say make money on the side, you still got to get paid through your broker. The BPO company still needs to send the payment through your broker. Okay. Because remember, who can pay you for anything real estate related when you have a real estate license?
The broker.
Only your broker. So if you're doing BPOs for extra money on the side, it's still got to go through your broker. But that's a question you could add to your job interview sheet to your brokers. If I do any BPOs, do you split that with me, or do I get to keep all the money from that BPO? Because I mean, it's not a huge amount. It could be $50, it could be $150. But is the broker you still need to split that as commission with them or not? Well, you got to discuss that with your brokers. They may have a policy on that, but get it in writing. By the way, you got that. Mm, 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 mm. What the hell? Okay. Okay, you guys see this? This is the shared Google Drive.
Okay.
When you first, if you click on that link, it takes you here, and there's a couple folders there. Audio reviews, no video. This is kind of older. I should probably redo this, but this is a cram session, but it's still pretty good still to listen to. Maybe when you're working out or something, you can listen to the classes. The chapter review quizzes. This is in addition to the ones that are at the end of every chapter. There's those quizzes there.
Yeah.
Well, these are additional quizzes in this folder. 14E, that's from back the 14th edition of the book. So we got 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 now. Okay. Some things have changed, but the majority of the content should still be accurate. You know what? I'll probably get rid of everything from 16 before. How about that? Yeah, we don't need all that stuff from before. And you got the answer keys there as well. Yeah. I'll get rid of 14, 15, and 16. We don't need those anymore. Oh. Okay, so 17th edition of the book and 18th edition of the book. You got loads of questions. These questions are in addition to those that are in the back of the book. And then you got the answer keys here. And then here's another 85 question sample exam from PSI. All right. Let me go back up in here. So the slideshows and links used in class will be updated regularly. In that folder, that's where we get that new class links and notes document I told you about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then here, state exam questions by category. And what I'll do here, new folder, I'll call it, I don't want to call it tired. Call it older stuff. There you go. And New class links folder, older. I got it older written there already. Actually, I don't need that. Okay. If you go into supplemental materials folder, this one has like all the sample contracts and forms and disclosures that I've been talking to you about and showing you. Here's some new disclosures in this one that have been updated. But here's a sample independent contractor employment agreement, like you got in the book there. The Attorney General's memorandum with the Fair Chance and Housing Act. Lead paint addendum, sample leases, all kinds of documents. But if we go in here, new student package for students, okay. But if we go here, I have an interview sheet. Where is it? Interview. There we go. Right under independent contractor agreement, we got interview questions that you can print out and take with you when you're interviewing brokers, asking them questions about things, which I'm actually in the process of even updating this right now, adding some more questions to it. But there's a lot of good questions on there for interviewing brokers. One of them is about BPOs. Actually, let's see if we got that there. Let's open it up and see. Is there something here about BPOs? Well, there's another question I could add about BPOs. So I'll make a notation about that. If brokers would split the BPO income or just allow you to get it all. All right. So they took this out of the 18th version book, this right here. You're not going to see this anywhere there. It says advertising that offers free appraisals is also prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis CMA is permissible. So that's why I had you just write under this paragraph, we cannot offer free appraisals because we're not licensed appraisers. We can offer free CMAs or BPOs to value properties. Okay. Now, offering a free appraisal instead of saying a CMA or price analysis, do not get in the habit of doing that. I know a lot of agents, especially new agents, start telling people, yeah, I'll give you appraisal on your property, let you know what it's worth. No, you can't. You're not a licensed appraiser. You have to be a licensed appraiser to do that. Do not get lazy with your language and say, because it's easier because everybody knows what an appraisal is, right? Tell them, I could give you a free CMA, a comparative market analysis to determine how much your home is worth. It's similar to an appraisal, but it's not. I'm not a licensed appraiser. Real estate agents can give you a valuation on their property. Okay. See, it's more wordy because you got to explain that to people. But don't call it an appraisal. Our industry's been sued already by the appraisal industry for using that language. As a matter of fact, when we do a CMA, we have to write at the bottom of it that this is not an appraisal and should not be considered the equivalent of one, which is done by a licensed or certified appraiser. So we can offer free CMAs and BPOs, but they should never be called appraisals or considered as such. A CMA is a comparative market analysis offered to the public, usually for free, to help determine the value for sellers and buyers. A BPO is a broker's price opinion offered to lenders, usually for free. I'm sorry, usually for a fee. Remember, it must be paid through your broker, though. Now, to sharpen your valuation skills, you could take that class that I told you guys about yesterday from Ottawa, that group of appraisers. They have that CMA workshop, which is pretty good. If they're not giving that CMA workshop, take whatever seasonal workshops that they're giving at the time. They're pretty good too, and they touch upon appraisals a little bit. By the way, how's my sound today? Is my sound coming across better today, a little fuller and less tinny, or no?
Sounds good.
Sound good.
Does it sound better than it was yesterday, the audio? So I'm using a different feature in the drop downs I was playing around with a little bit, because I know the recordings, it sounds kind of tinny when it comes across. And I got a really good quality video camera with the microphone, so I just changed the processing, the software that processes the audio. So hopefully it's coming across better today, a little richer and fuller, and it doesn't sound like I'm a mile away or very tinny. All right. Anyway, page 21. Any advertisement that refers to a home warranty must state whether an inspection is required, if the warranty is mandatory, and whether the purchaser is responsible. Do you guys already have this highlighted?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think we went over this in another slide, and I told you to highlight that stuff already, right?
Yep.
And also, any ad offering a rebate to the purchaser of residential property must disclose the buyer's obligation to pay any applicable taxes and advise the purchaser to consult with a tax professional. And you already highlighted this, I know. You already highlighted this. Okay, and we did this. So now this is just showing you the full page of 21, I guess. Everything there, right? We had these as individual components on individual slides. Now it's all on one. All right. Same page, I believe. There's been some updates to the laws. You already know that no real estate salesperson or broker salesperson can get paid by anybody other than their broker, their employing broker, right? And a real estate salesperson or broker salesperson, a lot of agents or students for some reason ask about, can I register as an LLC and then get paid through an LLC for my commission? I don't know why you'd want to, but now they changed the law that allows you to. But keep in mind, if you're going to create an LLC and then have your broker pay you instead of in your name, but through the LLC needs to be licensed with the Real Estate Commission and registered with the Real Estate Commission associated to your name, so that they could keep track of things. And keep in mind, if you do this, anytime your license comes up for renewal, you also need to pay to renew the license of a LLC. Now, how much do they charge for the license of the LLC? I'm not sure. You'd have to probably go to their page to see what they charge for that. I don't know if it's $100 or $200 or what. So in addition to your license renewal of $100 every 2 years, you'd also have to renew the LLC's license. You see, the New Jersey Real Estate Commission shall create a registration process for a limited liability company and any other entity to receive a commission other than valuable consideration pursuant to subsection A of this, whatever. I don't know. So you cannot use a lottery, contest, game, or drawing to sell real estate in New Jersey. And if you offer anything for free to the public, it has to be genuinely free with no strings attached until they put their systems in place for you to be able to register with the Real Estate Commission what you're offering for free and with strings attached. And here's a bunch of rules that they say that it's that's going to apply to it. So basically, if you're ever offering anything, any monetary benefit for free greater than $1,000, the broker shall provide written disclosure of the benefit to the recipient and any other information concerning the promotion or benefit as may be required by the commission. A broker shall disclose in writing any compensation received for such promotion or offer in the form of a substance as required by the Federal Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Blah, blah, blah. Legalese. Okay. Just in case you didn't know, you can't do any advertising in a discriminatory way, you know. And any advertisements that mention a specific commission, rate, or amount must also state that in New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable. And that's to show that you do not engage in an illegal practice called price fixing. Which is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act that was in Chapter 3. And remember, we went over there and I think we highlighted some stuff to that already. And this is that slide I put together for everything you need to know about. Is this the one for everything?
Yeah, we went through this.
Yeah, we went over this. This doesn't explain everything, but yeah, it shows enough. Let's see. All right. I'll try to blow through these real quick without reading all this. These are with social media, I swear to God, it's rotting the minds of people. You know, I seen rumors, online. Everything is racist these days, right?
Yep.
And I don't know what's wrong with people. I don't know if they're just getting dumbed down or if social media is rotting your mind or what it is. But I seen posts online and even on the news where people were referring to signs like this or placards like this as being racist. They put these markers only in black neighborhoods and they're racist. No, no, they're not. You know what this is? These are signs. Sometimes they're signs. Sometimes they could just be spray painted, where there would be a spray painted box or a box with a line through it or an X through it on houses that are vacant. Any building that is vacant, the law requires fire marshals to inspect them to see if there's any conditions that are dangerous that could cause a threat to the safety of firemen that may go into that building if there's a fire. Because there was an instance in 1999 where six firefighters went into a building to try to fight a fire. And it was a multi-level structure, and it was like a maze-like interior that got overwhelmed with smoke and flames inside, and the firemen got disoriented. And there was a lot of dangerous conditions there and multiple collapses that killed all the firemen. And so after this event, they said, you know what? Every fire marshal and every fire department for every town has to identify vacant buildings and mark them whether they have dangerous conditions or not, so that firemen are better prepared. So basically, if you just see a clear box like this, it means that the building is vacant and there's no dangerous conditions. So firemen can enter if they like and not have any worries really, other than the normal hazards. And then the box with the line through it means use caution. There may be dangerous conditions in there. And the box with the X says, firemen, you do not need to enter this building. There are hazardous conditions. It's dangerous. Only enter the building if you're certain it is to save life. That's basically what these are. Has nothing to do with racism, marking homes in black neighborhoods or things like that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but these are the types of rumors that go online and social media and whatnot. So I just wanted to clarify that. So here's another spin on that type of a sign where it got a box with the X through it and then has some additional writing. Or you could look, here's a couple examples of them on buildings, or sometimes they just spray paint it on buildings. You guys remember Hurricane Katrina, where
Yeah.
they got the floods in Louisiana, and then they put the the flood waters were so high they had to take chainsaws to cut roofs open to rescue people and get them out, and then they'd spray paint the box with the X on it, showing that its structure's clear, it's vacant, don't enter. Or a sign like this says, there may be some hazardous conditions, enter with caution. Or you could just get a sign like this. It just tells you outright, this building is declared unsafe for human occupancy. You can't enter this building until it's been rendered safe and secure by the fire marshal. Okay. I'll go over this one in a later chapter. This is one in my town in Linden. It actually has the address of the property there, where somebody updated their heating system around this time of year, and they had it serviced. And when they were reconnecting the exhaust pipe, it kind of dislodged. So when the furnace was running, these toxic fumes were spewing into the house, in the basement underneath the children's bedroom. And mother tried waking up the children in the morning, and they were out. One was pronounced dead at the hospital. The other one was in a coma. It's from carbon monoxide poisoning. All right, and if you got that straight box with no lines through it, it's safe, but it's vacant. This sign, you probably see these on school buildings and large public brick buildings, right? This is from the 50s and 60s, where they here we go, 1962. You could actually get write-offs and subsidies for your building that you own if you have a nuclear fallout shelter, someplace where people can go in the event of nuclear war, and they could hide out in your basement or whatever in these structures that could serve as safety places, I guess. I don't know. All right. You probably see these on the back of tractor trailers.
Yep.
But you could see them on fences or even on buildings too. You ever wonder what it meant? They are color coded, and the numbers actually are rankings of the amount of danger as well. And this white box is a special hazard. It's let's see. So the square is divided into 4 sections, and they're color coded. Red means flammable. Blue means some kind of health hazard. Yellow means that it's some sort of a reactive to unstable item, and the white could be special hazards like oxidizers or things that are reactive to water or asphyxiating gases. And the white one would not have a number in it. It would have codes like OX, SA, or W with a line through it. These other ones are rated with the number, which show you the level of hazard, and it's from 1 to 4 or 0 to 4. All right, enough of that. You don't need to know that stuff for exams. It's just useful information, or useless information, like I say. Okay, so to prevent fraud, we're talking about commission rebates here. Here, let's do these highlights down below on page 22. To prevent fraud, only buyers of a primary residence can receive a buyer's rebate. We don't give rebates to sellers. You want to give a rebate to seller, just charge them less commission. Okay. Some states allow rebates to sellers. New Jersey does not. It's illegal here. And buyer's rebates were illegal at one point too in New Jersey, but now they're legal. But only to certain buyers of a primary residence. What is a primary residence?
The home that they live in.
The home that you live in. It's not a investment property, vacation property, or commercial property, right? So rebates must be a direct reduction in the commission due to the agency. The rebate can only be offered as a credit or check at closing, but we do not pay this. The agents and the broker do not pay it. The closing agent does. Here, actually, you know what? I should make a little notation about that. Now I got to find that slide. Okay, we're past the placards. There we go. Due to the agency, rebate can only be offered as a credit or check at closing. Paid by the closing agent. Yeah. Uh, Paid by the closing agent, not a real estate licensee. It must be in writing from the start of the business relationship that you're offering a rebate and how much that rebate will be. All parties have to be aware that a rebate is being offered. But when do you tell them? Because can this screw up your negotiations of an offer if you're offering somebody a rebate, but then you have to let everybody know that you're offering a rebate? If you're making an offer on a seller's property and they know that you're giving money back to the buyer, they may be like, well, the buyer could afford to pay more. So that could kind of screw you up. So you don't tell everybody then. Once you've negotiated, the offer's been accepted, it goes to attorney review. Now let the attorneys know that you're giving a rebate and have them put that in a notice in the attorney review so that it's in writing, that everybody's been informed, and it doesn't interfere with your negotiations. Actually,
You mentioned giving a seller a rebate is you just offer less on your commission. But isn't that the same thing as giving it a buyer? You're offering less on your commission that's just paid out differently?
Uh, well, it's not just your commission. This is before you split with your broker. So it's a direct reduction in the total commission to the agency. So it's coming out of both yours and the broker's money because it's before the split.
Okay.
Um, but no, the law says we can offer rebates to buyers of a primary residence only, not to sellers. It's the law. Okay, so actually, remember we were here at the Legal Resource Library the other day?
Yeah.
I seen a question here about this very topic we're talking about right now, which is about rebates and notifying everybody that the rebate is that we're offering a rebate. When do we offer rebates? Let me see. There was a question here about when to disclose rebates to buyers. Uh, does this need to be disclosed to all parties prior to closing date? And it says for the broker to offer such a rebate, it must be agreed at the onset of the broker's relationship with the buyer and set forth in a written or electronic document or a buyer agency agreement that includes the terms of the rebate that will be credited or paid to the buyers. The broker is also required to disclose the rebate to all parties involved in the transaction, including but not limited to any mortgage lender. Yeah, because the lender can say no. Depending on, you could be offering a rebate to a buyer, but because of the type of loan program maybe that they're getting, the lender could say, no, you can't offer a rebate. I have actually had that happen before. And in New Jersey, Realtors Library of Forms, you could find various agreements for the rebate language. Okay, so didn't really tell you when, other than the onset. So basically from the beginning. So I usually do that after the offer has been accepted, though. Then in attorney review, I would tell them. Okay, let's see. Well, there was this. See, sometimes there's follow-up questions you could add here, or you could click. Look, there's another related question. Broker's disclosure of buyer rebates. When should an agent do that? Although Real Estate Licensing Act requires the broker and buyer to enter into a written agreement from the onset of the relationship, all parties, including mortgage lender, it does not specify when the rebate must be disclosed. Okay, so I do it during the attorney review. Since the rebate should appear in closing documents, it's obviously must be disclosed before the closing. Okay, there you go. All right. See, I even put on here, lenders can forbid offering a rebate due to factors like the type of loan that may have restrictions that wouldn't allow the rebate to be offered. I had that. I had that one time where I was giving a lady a rebate, and then the uh, the mortgage rep contacted me shortly before closing, and he was like, "Hey, you can't offer the rebate." The underwriter contacted me. They said to tell you that you can't give a rebate to the buyer. And I said, why? They're like, I don't know. The underwriter just said you can't give the rebate to the buyer in here. So you got to tell your client. And I was like, you tell the client. He's like, oh, I'm calling you so you could tell them. Click. I was like, you son of a gun. So now I have to go to my client and be like, yeah, remember that rebate that I was going to be giving you at closing? I can't give it to you anymore. I got to keep all that money now to myself. And I'm trying to say this without putting a smirk or smile on my face, but because your lender is forbidding it, they just contacted me, so that kind of sucks when they put that on me, to say that. But all right, tip: inform all parties after the offer is accepted while the attorneys review or to prevent interfering in the negotiations. Rebates may not be dependent on a lottery, contest, game, or drawing. A licensee can only offer a rebate if their broker allows it as part of their services being offered. And advertisements offering rebates must advise buyers to consult with a tax professional about the consequences of receiving the rebate. And you guys got these highlights down here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, see, my notes, they just dive in a little bit deeper and give you a little more information. All right, and any agreement between competing offices to establish standard commission rates is forbidden. We call that price fixing, right?
Yes, we do.
And what makes it illegal? Other than the real estate commission's own rules? What makes price fixing illegal? What law makes price fixing illegal? What federal law?
Was that the real estate commission?
Well, other than the real estate commissions for the state of New Jersey, it's against their rules for us to engage in price fixing. But what federal law makes price fixing illegal? Price fixing and allocation of markets and bid rigging at auctions and all that.
And was 11.
It's the Sherman Antitrust Act. So you see right here, Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits price fixing, allocation of markets, and bid rigging in auctions. So real estate agents should avoid the slightest discussion with members from competing firms, the competition, about the fees you charge the public. See, it's prohibited by the federal and state laws and prohibited by the Real Estate Commission. The Sherman Antitrust Act prohibits price fixing. This isn't an issue so much anymore, but it used to be. But who knows? It could be again sometime in the future. We used to have there used to be a big real estate company that popped up out of nowhere. They came from Britain. And they were offering super low listing fees for home sellers to market their property for sale. They started at 1%. You can list your property with a real estate agent for 1%. Now, this company was called Foxtons. Actually, they were called Your Home Direct, YHD Direct. And then it became YHD Foxtons. And then they dropped the YHD and just made it Foxtons. They were actually a mortgage company, a lender from out of Great Britain. And how do mortgage reps get their business? They hang around our offices by trying to bribe us with free coffee and donuts. Okay. Basically. So you're going to see that a lot at your offices. The mortgage solicitors coming around, bringing coffee and donuts every day for you, and trying to get the business, right? Hey, if you got anybody that needs to get approved for a mortgage, here's my card. You have them call me anytime, even if I'm not in the office. I could run their numbers and get you a pre-qualification letter. Okay. So this company, Foxton, said, why do we need to be pandering to real estate agents? How about we come up with our own real estate company and just make it really busy by offering really low commission rates? So we'll get a lot of sellers and buyers in there that we could then approve on our own through our mortgage company. And so that's actually how their real estate company came about. They could care less about the commissions on the real estate side, but they realized there's certain operating expenses they need to cover. So that 1% didn't last long. That 1% went up to 2%. That 2% then quickly went up to 3. And then the majority of their listings still were at around 4%. but they took they were driving around those little Mini Coopers with the flower on the side with the number 3% in the middle. You guys remember those at all?
No.
Foxtons? Yeah, they had a whole fleet of those things. If you were a real estate agent working for Foxtons, you were either working as a buyer's agent or a listing agent. Okay. And basically they had call centers that would get the calls in, they'd field the calls. And if you're a listing agent, they'd be like, okay, here's all the homes you need to go to and fill out listing paperwork with and get the listings from these people. It was like an easy job for them because they're like super low percentage commissions and all that. Now, if you get a listing at 3% and you put it in the MLS, and you're offering half of that to other agencies, right? So 1.5%. So most agencies out there, they're offering like they're getting like 5, 6, 7% listings. So they started hating these companies that are trying to under slash their income there. So what they started doing is, okay, so Foxton's agents that were coming in to try to get one of my listings, I'm gonna pay them the same commission that they're offering us, 1.5%. The real estate commission stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. That's discriminatory. You're going to start getting sued by them. So we've already spoken to Foxtons. You're going to be getting sued by them if you continue doing this. That is a discriminatory split. The law requires you could have reciprocating commissions. So what does that mean? Most agents misinterpreted reciprocating commissions as, well, they're offering me 1.5%, so I'm offering them 1.5%. Yeah, but 1.5% of the total commission, which is 3%, is 50% of the total commission. You're getting 6% listings and you're offering them 1.5%. That's considerably less than 50% of your total commission. So that's a discriminatory split. So you're not allowed to do that. So they created an administrative code rule 11.5-7.4 that deals with this and explains that. And that's all I'm talking about here. So if you're probably not seeing this around right now, but if you do in the future again, you got to be careful in how you offer your splits. You can't do them in a retaliatory way. Okay, anyway. So what happens if you violate any laws, rules, or regulations I've taught you so far?
Fines.
You get
And jail
fined.
time.
Actions against your license and or fines, correct.
And jail time.
I don't know about jail time, but just for your basic violations of advertising rules and other little minor offenses by not having a sign-in sheet or that open house sign or things of that nature. That's not going to put you in jail, but they could have actions on your license. So the commission may investigate complaints against the actions of licensees, or they could investigate all on their own without anybody filing a complaint. Now, what can they do if you did something wrong? Well, the least severe discipline is probation, then suspension, and then revocation. In addition, they could give you fines ranging up to $5,000 for a first offense and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. And if you have 3 or more violations, a license will likely be revoked. So basically, if they see that they keep fining you and putting actions against you and you just don't give a hoot, they could be like, well, then we're not going to deal with you. We gave you a license and you seem not to care too much about the rules. So we're going to take that license. That's basically what that's about. Note that the person filing charges is known as the complainant, while the person being investigated is known as the respondent. Okay, so you guys got this stuff highlighted, and the next slide I have will give more explanations. This is my cleaner version with a better definition. Because look, the book says they could place a license on probation. In the last version of the book, it said they could place a license on probation, which is probation. They could suspend a license, which is suspension. Well, actually, they still have it written that way here. And they could revoke the license completely, revocation. That's like saying, what is water? It's water. You cannot define a word with the word. So let me try to elaborate. Probation is a strong warning and close observation by the licensing authority. Suspension is a temporary lifting of the license in which time you can't work. And revocation means they're taking your license away completely. This could be for a period of time or for life. Now, well, suspension and revocation, you can't work during that time, right? And revocation can be for a period of time, so you could possibly get the license back. So how is that any different than suspension? One thing that I have noticed is that when I keep showing you guys these disciplinary actions where somebody was found guilty of doing something wrong, anytime the real estate commission revoked somebody's license where they were able to get it back still, they usually knock their license down a peg. So previously, if you were licensed as a broker salesperson, and they revoked your license instead of suspending it, if they suspended your license when you got it back as a broker salesperson. But if they revoked your license when you got it back as a salesperson, not a broker salesperson. So they knocked your license down a peg. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found to be the difference there. Where they revoke the license and you're still able to get it back. They did it because they want to knock your license down. All right. And in addition or separately, they could fine you. So fines can be imposed in addition to license sanctions. Fines for violating license law are up to. They don't need to be $5,000 for a first offense. They could give you a $50 fine just to make it sting a little bit, for a first violation, and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. That's what you need to study for exams. Now, timeshare violation fines, I don't think you need to study for exams, but just in case, I still got that information here for you if you're dealing in timeshares. Anybody know what timeshares or timesharing is?
Yeah, it's almost like a rental property, but you pay like a fee, like maybe $300 a month or whatever, and then you can all share like a hotel or something like that. I mean, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Well, timeshare is actually ownership of real estate. How many weeks are there in a year? What is it, 52 weeks
52.
in a year?
Yep.
If you go to like a vacation destination resort place, let's just say Las Vegas, okay? They may have this nice complex. It's like a hotel or a condominium complex with the pool and everything. Mm-hmm. Instead of going to Vegas all the time and having to rent a hotel, you could buy a timeshare where you will actually own one of the condo units for 1 week out of the year. You're sharing it with 51 other owners. All right. So the monthly maintenance charge is split between all 52 owners. The ownership costs you a lot less because you own it with 51 other people. That's the way the timeshares work. But it is ownership. Probably one of the worst things you could actually buy ever. Don't ever buy a timeshare. Okay. You're better off renting the room. The headache that comes with ownership of timeshares, the juice usually ain't worth the squeeze. And in a little bit later chapter, I have a video, a series of 3 or 4 videos explaining timeshares. But okay, and all fines are collected and turned over to the state treasurer. Now, is there a process to it, or do they just take actions against your license and fine you? No, there's a process. There's a procedure. They send you a 10-day advance notice in the mail to attend a hearing in Trenton to hear the hear the charges and brought up against you and make your arguments. If you are not happy with the results, they could be appealed to the New Jersey Superior Court. And your brokers can get in trouble for things that you do if they had guilty knowledge. That sounds like another term or definition you need to know, right? Guilty knowledge. What is guilty knowledge? It's when your brokers are aware of that their licensed or unlicensed assistants are doing something wrong, and they make no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. They could be held just as liable. Now, can a broker just say, well, I didn't know? How am I supposed to know what my agent was doing? No, that's not an excuse. I know that there's one brokerage I know of in Edison. They have a couple hundred licenses hanging in their office. Now, at any given time, you don't have more than 20 people in the office, in this busy office that has several hundred licensees, right? And one of their agents was doing something wrong, and the real estate commission came down on their broker. And the broker was like, well, how the heck am I supposed to keep track of 400 agents or whatever it was, how am I supposed to know what they're doing at all times? How can I be held responsible for what they did? Real estate commission's response was, who told you to hire 400 agents? We're not going to put restrictions on how you run your business, but there's laws that you need to follow. If you can't handle managing 400 agents, don't hire 400 agents, but that's your responsibility. You took it on. That's your responsibility. So, you're responsible for everything your agents do. Well, how the heck am I supposed to know? I didn't know what they were doing. You can't hold me responsible. Well, the question isn't whether you knew or not. It's should you have known? And so then the broker was held liable and had to pay fines for things that their agents did. Now their agents get in trouble as well. That doesn't excuse the agent. It's not that the broker gets in trouble. It's the agent and the broker can get in trouble. Yeah. All right. So licensees must notify the real estate commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime. Repeat offenders with 3 or more violations may have their licenses revoked for life. It really depends on the situation, what it was, if they're doing it blatantly, if they just don't care about the laws. Serious offenses may result in license suspended until the case is resolved. So in the United States, you're innocent until proven guilty, unless you're President Trump, of course.
Just handing out pardons.
Yeah, we do. There's been some weird things that happened where you had laws that were changed temporarily just during an election, where statute of limitations no longer apply, just so we could go after someone. All right. But generally speaking, in the United States, because that was an anomaly, and I don't even know how that even occurred, how that was even able to go down. But generally speaking, you're innocent until proven guilty in this country. So under certain offenses, though, the real estate commission would be complicit if they allowed you to continue having access to lockbox keys to get into people's houses, and you're currently being accused of and awaiting trial for a serious crime like murder or rape or kidnapping or home invasions, things of that nature. So in those types of offenses, the real estate commission, your license is a privilege. It's not a right. Okay. So they can temporarily suspend your license until there's an outcome to the trial to find out if you are guilty or not. Otherwise, they would be complicit if they gave you continuous access and then you go and rape somebody else or kill somebody else, So that's why they're allowed to do that. Now, if you guys see all those things that I keep bringing up, those screenshots from the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page, this is actually I got a link here directly to their disciplinary actions page on their website. If you guys want it, I could share that with you right now. You can go peruse through it, read some of the interesting stories they got there, uh, some of the cases. I have some in these slideshows that I bring up. I got a juicy one coming up in chapter 3. Yeah, you get a kick out of that one. Trust me. All right. So based on what we see here, by the way, I got everything summarized here about fines, violations, licensing procedures, and rules, and all that stuff, all on this one slide rather than highlights that are all over the place in your book. So this is another one of those slides you should probably take a screenshot of and add to your notes.
I gotta add this one ready, just make sure.
I got that one.
Yeah, I got it.
So based on what you see on this screen, if you have one, you could have multiple infractions in one transaction. If you have 5 in one transaction, you have 5 violations in one transaction, what's the most the Real Estate Commission can fine you?
What's the most they can fine you?
Yep.
If it's your first violation?
Yep, it's your first violation. You have 5 violations in the one transaction.
5,000.
Oh, to 5,000?
Oh no, sorry. 5,000 for the first violation and then 10,000 each after. So it can be up to
$45,000.
Yeah.
So
As
5,000 for the first violation and up to 10,000 for each subsequent violation. So it could add up to 45,000. So that's the way that it works. Now, do they need to fine you 5,000? No, that's the maximum for the first, and these are the maximum for subsequent. But up to. So if you get a question that asks you, hey, you got one transaction has 5 violations in it, how much can the Real Estate Commission fine you?
45,000.
45,000, up to 5,000 for the first offense, up to 10,000, up to 10,000, 10,000, and 10,000. That's 10, 20, 30, 40, 5.
I'll take out of business.
Well, don't screw up. Right? Don't violate the law. You'll be okay. Listen, we go over all these fines and stuff. You're probably never going to do anything wrong like this, maybe, but maybe like at open houses, you're required to have a sign-in sheet, right? You're going to know that. You're not going to forget the sign-in sheet. But what about that open house sign that you have to have now that says, "Hey, idiot, off the street, I don't represent you. I represent the seller. That's why I'm here sitting in their house." But I could represent you too. So that sign you're required to have. If you don't have it, they could fine you. What's the first document you give to anyone you intend to do business with before you talk about their financing or their operations?
CIS.
The CIS form.
Yes.
So should you have it at an open house?
Yes.
Yes.
You intend to work with anybody that walks in that front door? Then you need to have it there. And if you don't have it, they could fine you. How much could they fine you?
Up to $5,000 for the first offense.
Yeah. Now, do you think they're going to fine you $5,000 for not having a CIS form at an open house?
No.
Probably not. They'll probably give you like a $50 fine or a $100 fine just to make it sting so you don't forget next time, right?
The first time they probably do that.
Yeah. They'll give you a small fine just to make it sting a little bit, like a $50 fine or something like that. I've actually had an agent that forgot to do that, and the Real Estate Commission gave him a $50 fine. And they're like, "Oh, that sucks, man! I got to pay a $50 fine." Well, they could have fined you 5,000.
I'd rather have the $50 than 5,000.
Yeah,
What would you fight with that?
Yeah. It's still money out of your pocket because you forgot a piece of paper, It's like, yeah, but you're required to have it, so don't forget these things. Have your checklist of things that you should have,
Now, let me ask you this, Victor.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a physical paper, or could it be I have it where I can now forward it to every single person that comes in? You know, if I have a PDF version and I'm now forwarding that document to everyone that I plan on working with.
How you gonna, how are you keeping the record of it, of everybody you gave it to?
A sign-in sheet?
You should
Well,
have it. You should have it in writing. Yeah. Yeah. You're only in the past, you were only required to give it to the buyers, the CIS form. You know, now it has signature lines. We're required to have it signed now. I
Well,
always have,
how about if it's a if it's a PDF version? And I guess the reason I bring it up is because we're in a world where paper really isn't a thing like that, right? It's mostly, you know, I have a tablet, I have an iPad, right? So I can go on my iPad and I can say, hey, Victor, you know, you know, if you plan, I plan on working with you. Here's the document, sign it, I sign it. It now gets emailed to you through this, right? Does that also?
okay. So as a broker, I could keep my escrow books that way electronically as well.
No.
no.
Yeah, I can. But if I do, and an investigator comes into my office, they ask to see my escrow books, but my computer's having trouble starting, or the power's out, and I can't start the computer. They're going to fine me or put sanctions against my license because I could not produce to them my escrow records right then and there on the spot. Doesn't it doesn't matter. Oh, I got it electronically. I just have the computers on the fritz, or that's an excuse. You need to produce the when an investigator asks you for documentation, you need to provide that documentation. You can't be like, well, I can't show it to you right now because of fill in the blank for my excuse. You know, have everything sitting there in writing. You're going to have a bunch of them already printed out. Just bring, look, you're going to print out property flyers, or you're going to only submit, or are you only going to text or email flyers to people who walk into your open house? Or is it more convenient just to have a flyer property sheet there where they could just look at it at a glance? You know, it's paperwork. I don't care how technologies become so popular. Um, you should have paper there too.
Okay.
Okay. Um, look, if you want to have digital flyers that are more advanced with walkthroughs and stuff, you're still going to have a printed piece of paper with a QR code that they could scan so that they could get to it. Right. So fines can be imposed up to 5,000. Okay, subsequent offenses, and here's how that works out. This is just an explanation of how you could get fined up to $45,000. You could have multiple offenses in one transaction. Each violation is treated as a separate offense, even though you have multiple offenses in one transaction. This is according to 4515-17. All right, so here's now we're just continuing highlighting the procedure for getting those fines in the book. See, on my slide, I got it all in one spot right here, explaining it to you. See all on this slide right here? And then in the book now, let's continue doing the highlights for all the different things here. But here's also the definition of guilty knowledge that the book has. They improved their definition. Sounds like another one of my instructors fed some information to the book manufacturer, and they're starting to use some of my definitions or get close to them anyway. And also, what happens to your license if your broker loses theirs?
Nothing happens. Well, you lose your well, okay, so I don't maybe I'm reading too much into it, but if your broker loses their license, I remember you talking about that if there's a broker salesperson or if there's a salesperson that was there for three that has the qualifications to become a broker, they can step in and take over. So that would mean if that happens, your license is okay. If that doesn't happen, I'm gonna say that you temporarily lose your license or you have a specific time frame to go and work with another broker.
So what if you're working on a transaction right now, though?
You get a pass
They will.
from the real estate.
What do you mean you get a pass? You're allowed to work unsupervised?
No,
That's a
isn't like
I'm
whoever
trying to put you in a real world situation
I
here.
know,
What
I know. That's why I'm trying to think before I
yeah.
respond.
but they were assigned someone at the office that had more than 3 years with a license. O
What if
sea, there
they
was,
don't have anyone like that?
huh?
What if they don't have anyone like that?
Uh,
Yeah, right.
If you well, if it's a bro,
But you say if they lose
I
the
don't know.
license, they say either they lose
Yeah,
or dies. Because
yeah,
I
your
know if
broker
they
lost
die,
your
they will
license.
put, huh?
Yeah, your broker's license, they revoked your broker's license. So what happens to you? You worked for that broker and you're working with clients right now. What happens? Can you continue working with those clients? What's going on?
I
I
don't
want to say yes, I just don't know how.
I don't think you can keep working until you broke it. Because I mean, you cannot get any other paperwork because your broker doesn't have a license though.
Yeah, you can't even get your license unless you affiliate with a broker, right? So
Yeah.
if your broker, because you need to be supervised by an actively licensed New Jersey broker. So if your broker loses their license, you got to stop working until that broker's replaced, or you transfer your license to another brokerage firm. But if you transfer your license to another brokerage firm, can you
You
take those
can.
clients with you? Were those clients yours?
No, they were the brokers.
So it gets kind of sticky situation here.
Does
So
that also play the same? And I want to say the answer is yes, which is unfortunate. So let's just say you're working for this broker and you're now trying to get your broker's license, and you've been working with them for 2 years and 10 months, and then they lose.
let's not get that far down the rabbit hole just yet,
Okay.
because with that you'd have to. I would suggest in that situation, I would suggest is speak to the real estate commission. Maybe the real estate commission can do something with this. Okay, but what about you're working right now and your broker loses their license? If they got nobody to replace the broker, nobody in the office can work. Okay, so you could also transfer your license to another brokerage firm, but can you transfer those clients?
No.
They were the brokerage's clients. So can you transfer them? Well,
Yes,
the real estate commission would come in and their job, what is the real estate commission's job?
they're a liaison.
What is the real estate commission's job? Forget about this
Oh,
situation.
so sorry. Their job is to make sure that they're we're not they're the client isn't dealing with scrupulous
Unscrupulous.
unscrupulous
Unscrupulous.
realtors.
Yeah. They're there to protect the public from unscrupulous brokers and salespeople, right? So they're there to protect the public. So if a broker loses their license, they're not trying to jam up all these people that had transactions going on. I mean, let's put it in the same scenario. Maybe your broker didn't do something wrong, but maybe your broker went bankrupt. The agency is in bankruptcy court. They're not, they're not running anymore. So you could maybe transfer the license somewhere else. The real estate commission may allow you to take those clients with you and continue working with them, or still work underneath the same brokerage, but the real estate commission could be overseeing and managing that office. The real estate commission themselves can be managing that office just to close out those clients to make sure you're doing the things the right way. Um, it would really depend on a case by case scenario of what happened and what's going on for the real estate commission's involvement to get to that point. Because they're not in the business of being in the real estate business. They're in the business of making sure everybody's following the laws and regulations when they're conducting their business. But they're there to protect the public. So if somebody's in the middle of a purchase transaction, they don't want them getting screwed over either. So it would be on a case by case basis. It depends on what the real estate commission says. Okay. But a lot of the times you may get somebody to replace that broker, even a salesperson with 3 years full-time experience. But like I said, let's just say they didn't have anybody with 3 years full-time experience and there's no broker. Maybe the real estate commission can get a broker to fill in until all the transactions are closed and they wind down the operation. You know, it's a messy situation without a doubt. If something like that happens, it's messy. But the real estate commission they would kind of hover over that brokerage firm, gets a broker in there to manage it and try to deal with the issues to wind it down and close it down, but finish their transactions. But it's case by case basis, as you could see, because that one would be totally messy. That'd be a total mess if they got nobody to fill in. The brokers, lose their license, or what if the broker didn't lose their license? They died.
Well, if you,
Same kind of situation.
I know if they die, if there's someone in the office that has the license for more than 3 years, they can get a temporary
Full
sign up
time.
for it. Yeah,
Full time. Okay, but you also need the permission of the owners. Well,
the,
who's the owners? The broker, the owner? Was he the only owner? Does his family now inherit his brokerage firm? And they have to give the okay for somebody to step in and become the broker of record, unless they're just trying to sell the brokerage and just wind it down or whatever. So you still need permission. Like you can't be just like, hey, I got 3 years experience. I'm going to be the broker.
so
Well, I think somebody else has a say in that. It's not your company.
what
So
about if they decide to, let's say like the family decide to close their company at the moment though, and all the sales going on, like
yeah.
how's that goes? I
Uh,
mean, it's
well, let's see if they're okay with you then taking those clients to the next brokerage firm that you're transferring your license to.
even though that will take the process a little slower than
Yeah.
until you do all the transfers and all that stuff.
These are all messy situations that we're going over right now. We're going over like nightmare
Hope,
situations.
hopefully we don't have to go through it, but
Yeah,
it's
hopefully you don't. But stuff like this does happen. I know of a a decent sized popular brokerage right in Clark, that they've been in business for a long time. And the owner just died. Well, it's a couple of years ago already now, but the owner died. Now what? Well, he got his kid's license through me, but one of his sons got into an argument with him. He went his own way and opened up his own brokerage. The daughter, she's got her salesperson license. She was still working for them. And the owner, he kind of retired. The broker, he was the owner. He kind of retired, and he put in another lady as the as running the office as the broker now. Nobody likes her. Okay, so is the family going to keep her there or not? Now it's a matter of, well, the other sons, they wanted their inheritance. They want to sell the brokerage, and it's a whole big mess over there too. So I don't see the sign still up over there, but it's I know that they were trying to sell the brokerage for the last couple of years now. Are the agents still working out there? I don't know. I didn't keep up on it, but it's a messy situation when a broker dies or when the owner dies of the brokerage as well. But as long as they got a broker in place there to manage it, they should still be in operation. But what does the family want? Do they want to shut it down? Do they want to sell it? I mean, these things can all have an effect on you and your license and your transactions. It's messy. That's all. I just wanted to bring up a messy situation. We've been talking about it way too long. But
uh,
it's a messy situation. But just to show you the realities of it, if you do come across that, it's a freaking mess. All right. I wasn't bringing it up for like knowing exam answer options, but well, actually, I guess you could. This could be an exam question because look, when the broker's license is suspended or revoked, or they die, their salesperson's license are suspended until the end of the current licensing period. Wow. It shouldn't just be till the end of the current licensing period. It should be until the broker is replaced or the end of the licensing period. Because you're going to have to renew your license. And if you don't get underneath an actively licensed living broker, you're not going to be able to renew your license. So during that time, the salesperson's free to affiliate with another broker. You could transfer your license, and then the real estate commission will reissue you the license at no charge. Because there's a license transfer fee from one broker to the other. But you didn't do nothing wrong here, so they're not going to penalize you. So they'll reissue you the license at underneath the new broker's name at no charge. They won't charge you the license transfer fee. Okay. So that's the answer for exams.
And that question, that I know they might have like all the files and all that stuff, but well,
Yeah, the real estate commission will be involved though.
okay.
So this doesn't get into this statement here. Does not get into this one-liner. Does not get into the details. The real estate commission will definitely be involved because it's going to be a mess. So they will be involved. But the short answer for exams: what happens if your broker's license is suspended or revoked or they die? Well, that broker can be replaced by a broker salesperson that may be working in the office. They can become the broker of record, or if they have no broker salesperson, a salesperson with 3 years full-time experience can get that temporary broker's license for a year, right? Or you could transfer your license to a different brokerage firm. Now, they don't get into, well, what about the transactions? Can you transfer them as well? It depends. It depends. There's a lot of questions that are unanswered there. We need a lot more information to be able to answer that, And is the real estate commission involved to the point that they're going to allow it? It's messy. Okay. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much. I just want to stick on these topics there. But I brought up a real life scenario there, and it just shows you that's confusing and it's a mess. All right. So, guilty knowledge, what is it? It's when your broker is aware that one of their agents, licensed or unlicensed assistants, is doing something wrong and makes no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. They can be held just as liable. That's guilty knowledge. I'll have a slide with that full definition, a little bit better than this. And if your broker loses their license, then your license gets suspended until the end of the licensing term, or you could transfer your license somewhere else. Okay, so the commission could also revoke the license or suspend the license of anyone awaiting trial for a number of serious crimes, including murder, kidnapping, robbery, criminal conspiracy, and so on, until there's an outcome to the case. And that makes good sense to do that.
You don't want to be involved with none of that.
All right, so guilty knowledge. Here's my definition. I tweaked it a little bit more than what the book got there. It's when the broker's aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong and makes no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. The broker can be held just as liable as the agent who did whatever was wrong. So what happens to your license if your broker loses theirs? This is the whole thing that we were just talking about these. Everything that was highlighted here in this paragraph, these are two different scenarios here, right? One's about guilty knowledge and one's about what happens if your broker loses their license. So my answers are all the agents under that broker will have their licenses suspended because they cannot work unsupervised. So I elaborated a little bit on there, giving you a little more information. Licensees can wait until the broker either gets their license back, the broker is replaced with one who's actively licensed, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker. The REC will waive the fee to reissue or transfer the license elsewhere. Okay. And apparently here's a situation where that happened. Hmm. No, actually, that's not what happened here. What happened here is the broker failed to renew his own license, and all the agents in his office were still working.
Wow.
The broker got in trouble. The agents are lucky that they didn't. I guess they weren't aware their broker was not currently licensed because he failed to renew his own. So he failed as a broker of record to ensure that the individual licensees licensed through his company did not engage in the brokerage business during the time where his brokerage license was inactive. So the license of said individual licensees were inactive. So he agreed to pay a fine in the amount of $5,000. I guess that was his first offense. Yeah, that's a big deal for brokers, right? If something happens to the broker is responsible for all the people under him. Their licenses are directly tied to his.
Just have another question on that.
Yeah.
Let's say your broker forgot to renew the license. So any deal that you close with a license not being renewed, is that an issue or is
Oh,
or
yeah,
how's that going?
you shouldn't be working. But
So yeah, we shouldn't be working, but let's say we don't like that
what it,
happen.
yeah, what it sounds like here happened though, it sounds like his agents didn't even know. The broker failed to renew his own license, his company's license. So the agents were unaware that their licenses weren't even active. So they're continuing going about their day working with their clients like they always did, you know. Um, and I guess somebody found out, the real estate commission was notified, and they fined the broker, and then this broker renewed his license, got his stuff in gear. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Did he get his stuff in gear? Did he renew his license? Are you guys curious to find out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Bu- 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 So I'm just gonna look up the license. njrealestatelicense.com, because I can't remember the link and I can't find the link. So I just typed into my browser njreclicense.com. And here we go. And what was this guy's name again? You guys see it on screen still?
No,
Leo.
it
Oh,
was Leo
all right,
something.
here, let me put it on screen. Oh yeah. Here, I'll put it on screen. You guys can dictate it to me while I type it in here. Go ahead.
We don't see it. Okay, there it goes. Leo Pflieger.
Okay, so I'm just going to put in his last name. How many people can have that last name, right? You never
What's
know,
up?
but here, let's just search his. Oh, apparently a couple can. But it was Leo, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here's Leo A. Pfleger, actively licensed broker of record. So he did get his license back, and here's his company, Pfleger Realty Group LLC, also actively licensed. Okay, so he got his license back,
Nice.
and they're still in operation. You see
And
how we could search? We could do that just by searching the Real Estate Commission's database. What about me? Is my license active?
Yes.
You checked already?
No.
yeah, I think we saw that. The
Yeah, well,
There you
you showed us this before. You
Okay.
pulled this up.
yeah, I even saved the page.
Just to make sure. All right.
Not like your name on it, but like the page to look it up.
Go look it
Any
up. Yeah. So njreclicense.com, that's the domain name that I bought that I pointed to the Real Estate Commission's longer link. But I gave you guys the three different links, to take you to the same place. All right. So if you violate licensing law, what are the violations where you can have fines or sanctions against your license? Here's a laundry list of items. It's not a comprehensive list, but it covers a lot of stuff. Some things we've gone over, some we have not yet. So let's just go over this list. Are you guys looking at the slideshow now? Yes, you are.
yes.
So making false promises or substantial misrepresentations. Yeah. Don't lie and and stick to the truth, right? Acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge of all parties thereof. Oh, what do we call that? Acting for more than one party in a transaction without the knowledge of all parties.
Fraud.
Designated
Not designated, dual agency.
dual agency. Then.
But in this case, it's undisclosed because it's without the knowledge of all parties. So remember, I told you there's nothing wrong with dual agency as long as it's disclosed, but undisclosed dual agency, that's an issue. Pursuing a flagrant or continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises like, your property value is sure to go up 10% in the next year. How the hell would you know? Don't make promises like that. Failure to account for or pay over money belonging to others. Ooh, quick way to lose your license. Mess with other people's money. Your clients give you money when they're making an offer for a deposit. What do you do with it?
Give it to your broker and they put it in escrow.
How soon do you give it to your broker? Do you wait till the offer gets accepted first, or do you just give it to the broker?
Immediately, but within 5 days, right?
Immediately, you give it to the broker, and then your broker has 5 days from the time that you got the money from your clients to do their escrow bookkeeping and then deposit it in the bank account. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith. That would suck. I lost my license because I was incompetent. Oh, man. Failure to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing. What do we call that?
Failure to provide a client with a copy of the contract.
Duplicate. Original.
Original. Yep. Duplicate original. Or failure to specify an expiration date on a listing. Oh, you're going to see that one. That's definitely going to be an exam question. You're going to see that a lot. Because we're supposed to supply that duplicate original of the listing contract to the owner at the time we get the listing too. But sometimes you get agents, what they do is they don't want to put in there how long the listing is, when it's going to expire. They want that year-long listing, but they don't want to write that down right away. So they leave that line blank after the owner signed it. And then they come back, oh, I forgot how to give you your copy. And then they fill it in later. Don't do that. Using a lottery, contests, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. In some states, it may be legal, but it's not legal here in New Jersey. Okay. Remember,
I could have swore I saw that recently on it might have been on social media where a guy he sold like tickets to a property. It was almost like he was raffling off the property, like $100.
Yeah.
And then he ended up double or tripling the amount of money that he would have gotten if he would have just.
You could make a lot of money by raffling off real estate like that. Selling $100 raffle ticket. You think you could sell a $100 raffle ticket for a chance to get a house?
Yeah.
You think you can find a lot of people that are willing to pay $100 for a raffle so they get a house?
Yeah, because they're gonna say, I spent it on worse. I've lost it on worse.
Yeah, it's easy to sell 6-7 times the value of the property in tickets there. You'll make a killing, but that's illegal here. New Jersey has something called the Gaming Commission. Remember, we're the nanny state. We got licenses for everything and overseers for everything, So we got the Gaming Commission, and they got an issue with that. Being convicted of a crime of which the commission does not have knowledge. Collecting a commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity. For example, acting as an attorney and the broker for the same client. Yeah, a little bit conflict of interest there, eh? Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization if you're not a member of it. You know what I'll also add to that? Claiming that you're like a Circle of Excellence award winner when you didn't win the award. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or how about this? You've been notified that you won the Circle of Excellence award, but they haven't given it to you yet.
Doesn't count.
You cannot advertise that you're a Circle of Excellence award winner until you've actually received the reward. See, that's actually a problem that comes up a lot because agents are notified in advance if they're going to be winning this award, so that they attend the conference, and sometimes they start advertising it, and they didn't. The award ceremony never came about yet. What are you talking about? Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer's rebate, right? But other than that, can we pay anybody?
No.
No. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. As a salesperson or broker salesperson, accepting a commission or valuable consideration from anybody other than your employing broker. Or procuring real estate license through fraud or deceit. Yeah, I graduated high school when you didn't. Things of that nature. Like this guy, he failed to talk about his child support, which he was 6 months behind on. Commingling the licensee's own money with that of the clients and customers. They're talking about the broker here because the broker is managing the escrow accounts, the bank accounts, right? Or failure to maintain and promptly deposit other people's money in a special trust account. How soon?
Within 5 days.
5 business days, yep. Selling property in which a licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale the interest and the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Buying property without disclosing in the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Okay, so we got that kind of twice in here. Okay, did you know this? That if you're buying or selling real estate and you're going to get a real estate license, if you buy or sell real estate and you have an interest in that property, maybe it's your property that you're selling, or you're buying it as a business investment for yourself. You have to disclose that in the contract. You also have to disclose that you're a real estate licensee. Violating any of the rules regulating rental practices. Failure to notify the real estate commission within 30 days of a conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or having a license suspended or revoked, a real estate license that was issued in another state, or the initiation of disciplinary proceedings there. Violating any of the previous items or the administrative rules adopted by the commission. If the licensee is guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles, the person could be considered a repeat offender and having their license revoked for life. That's what they mean by denied ever holding a real estate license. And once again, here's that slide that I have about all the rules there. And that concludes chapter 2. So, let me close this out. We'll do the key terms to review. Let me get my book here. I didn't have my book in front of me that whole time. All right, and we'll do the key terms to review for chapter 2. Are you ready? I say, are you ready?
Yes.
Ready.
Yeah, let's do this. All right, so there's only one key term to review here in this chapter. Page 25. Once again, I read out the answer on the right-hand side of the page. You shout out what you think the corresponding term is to it on the left-hand side of the page. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you get them. Are you ready?
We're ready.
All right, so you want to play the game. Let's go. Broker's additional place of business.
Branch office.
It is a branch office. 1 is A. Least severe discipline by the real estate commission.
Probation.
Probation. 6 is B. Place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Well, that's
Escrow account.
It is the escrow account. 4 is C. Copy of a real estate contract with original signatures.
What's that?
Duplicate original.
Yep. 3 is D. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
Guilty knowledge.
5 is E. Guilty knowledge. Mixing broker's money with that of others.
Illegal.
It is, but what do we call it?
Commingling.
Commingling. 2 is F.
Commingling.
Cancellation of a real estate license. What do we call that?
It's a revocation.
Revocation.
Yep.
Yeah.
A revocation. 7 is G. Temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
Yes. 8 is H. Another name for an escrow account.
Trust.
Trust account. 9 is I. And a form sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation with other brokers.
Waiver of broker cooperation.
10 is J, the waiver of broker cooperation, and that concludes chapter 2.